Welcome to Babonga's channel, Polymer Clay Bjd Arms and Legs. Assigning quantities for each two same limbs. Piercing the largest of the four balls and then working like this, rolling to make it into a tube. And I proceed to the next one. Next, I bake the gradually thinner tubes. Each tube will give me two of the same limbs. Now I need to measure and separate. For the thighs, I need 4 centimeters. So I cut like this from the thickest tube. For the lower leg I need 3, so I cut. As you see, I'm going from thicker to thinner, measuring and cutting accordingly. And this way I have all 8 limb parts. Now I have to make the hip joints and generally to work on the hip top and bottom. After adding liquid polymer clay, I'll create a spherical joint to go to the hip socket. Fresh clay has to stick to the baked clay and then I have to test if it fits in the socket, and then of course I need to make a hole. All this is at the top of the upper leg and testing again to see if it's okay, and then I'm going to work at the bottom of the upper leg, creating an opening for the knee joint. It has to be wide and round. So I'm creating a nice place for the knee joint to fit. This is done for both upper leg parts, and then I'm gonna move on to the lower leg in order to add a top and bottom, wider and rounder opening. Next, I'm gonna go and make the shoulder joint, plus a little bit of work at the top of the elbow area. The work is pretty much the same as I did before for the hip and knee. And after finishing with both arms, top and bottom, I put them in the oven together with everything else, because unless I made them perfect, the joints may not work. So as you see, I'm cutting a little bit, trimming, shaping and adjusting until eventually the joint moves freely in the socket. And after this, very carefully, I'm cutting the rectangular groove to facilitate the movement for the elastic cord. This is done at the top front of the hip. The top of the arm is better, so it doesn't need trimming, but of course it needs the rectangular groove again to facilitate the movement at the inner top side of the arm. And now I have to start with the knee joints. The openings are already made, so I make 2 little balls that fit in the openings, pierce them like beads and make them stick together. This is the first part of the knee joint. Maybe you notice that one ball is a little bit larger than the other. And now I'd like to add a little bit of thickness on the thighs and calves. That is, to add a little bit of anatomy. And you see the lighter raw clay, how it stands out. Now, elbows. For the elbows, I only need to make just one round bead. After this, another trip to the oven to bake what I've done so far, because I need to finish the knee joints. I have to add a little bit of polymer clay at the front part of the knee joint in this shape. Now to the oven, and then I must not forget to make 2 tiny grooves at the back of the knee joint, top and bottom. Lastly, I have to sand everything smooth, maybe trim a little bit, and there it is.